What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Funhouse. This is the 5th episode, and I'm here with my dad, Grindberg, like always, and we're here to bring you some nice twist to the fantasy football universe. So that's it for now. But let's go to the intro, Grindberg.
Let's do it. We are back, heroes and heroines of the fantasy football universe. Time for another edition of Fantasy
Fundamentals.
Yeah, buddy. The fundamentals. Welcome to the exciting world of fantasy football trading, where you get your hero on your own team. Just like superheroes assembling their dream squads, you use your trading powers to boost your roster and build a championship winning team. Whether you're adding like a superstar or swapping for a strategic advantage, mastering the art of trading will take your fantasy football game to the next level. And this is how trading works. Trading is your chance to get powerful players and build a winning squad. Sometimes it's about adding a fresh superhero to your team or shaking things up. But watch out, though. Fantasy, some managers might try to trick you into a bad trade. The best traders are friendly and make fair, fun deals for everybody. So, Mason, let's talk about step number 1.
Know your team's strengths and weaknesses. Before you trade, assess your team's powers and your running back strong, but your wide receivers need work. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses help you identify for improvement. For another manager with the opposite problem, and you found your trade partner.
Perfect. So you're looking for maybe somebody that has a need that you have plenty of, and potentially something that you need. You know what I mean? So you're trying to find a good trade partner. So you're going to search for like an ally within the community. So search for a manager whose team has what you need. If you got extra wide receivers and you need a running back, find someone who needs a wide receiver but has a good running back. This is how you build a superhero squad through trades, helping each other out to become stronger. So what's the next step, Mason? What is another way you can get stuff going?
Make your trade offer the hero's deal. When making an offer, keep it short and sweet. A simple message like, I need a running back, I have a wide receiver to trade, works best. Be clear about what you want and offer a couple of options. If the trade isn't accepted, be flexible and try again with a counter offer.
So like, if I send you a trade and you don't like it, don't give up kind of thing.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe the other person won't exactly reject it. They'll send a counter offer, which is like they resend a different offer, like tweaking that offer a little bit.
I gotcha. So know your player's power level too, kind of, you know what I mean? So each player has a different value. So some are superheroes who could carry your team to victory, while others are just kind of like sidekicks. So before you trade, make sure you understand the player's strengths. Don't trade away your top heroes for too little. Get fair value for your team's needs. So what's next, Mace?
Be friendly, be strategic, you're part of your league of heroes. Trading is about building good relationships and having fun. Don't take advantage of other managers, especially new ones. Help them out, and they'll be more likely to trade with you in the future. But keep your strategy a secret, just like a superhero hides their powers.
That's a pretty savvy move, Mason, but you're right. You always want to be friendly to everybody within the league, because some people are just beginners and they need help. And being a good trade partner, being a good manager in your league will only build better communications and community, just like having a friend in your own life. You want to treat them with respect, because they help you out in the long run. So a couple other things is you don't want to overpay for a hero. So sometimes if you really want a player it's worth overpaying. Maybe there's a superhero that you like and you need to have on your team. Just make sure it doesn't like hurt your team in the long run. Don't overpay too often. So balance is the key. Keep learning. The superhero training always continues, just like everything in life. You always want to be a self-learner and you want to learn all through your life. So as you trade more, you'll get better at it, right? Keep learning about the players and how to make smart deals. The more you know, the better the trades will be. Trading isn't just about winning, it's about making your league more exciting. So why don't you just kind of round this all up for us, Mason, in one little spill here?
In conclusion, trading is one of the most exciting parts about fantasy football. It's your chance to be a superhero, making smart moves, and building your dream team. So use trading like your powers. Learn from your mistakes and get ready to conquer your fantasy league like the superhero you are.
Yeah, we all are superheroes. And we're as a superhero community where people go to have some fun, talk about fantasy football, talk about trades and stuff like that.
The Fantasy Football Advice Network.
And the platform is called the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. And this is where you can find it.
We are here. We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
Yeah, so let's talk about our super-powered game of the week. So in this epic showdown, we have the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills, and the stage is set for a clash of the Titans. Not the Tennessee Titans, though, right? No.
Ew.
No. These two teams have enough firepower to send shockwaves through the league. Imagine this: Patrick Mahomes, the charismatic gunslinger with an arm that defies physics, versus Josh Allen, the colossal quarterback with the strength of a freight train and a cannon of a throwing arm. This isn't just a football game. It's a battle of superheroes, each with their own set of powers and ready to wage war under the bright lights of prime time. With both teams sporting their top-tier offensive and relentless defenses, this is a spectacle where every play could change the course of the game in an instant. So like a superhero throwing a punch that alters the fate of the universe.
But it's not just about the quarterbacks. The supporting cast for both teams are equally formidable. For the Chiefs, Travis Kelce is indomitable force who can break any defense. A reliable sidekick who always seems to be in the right place at the right time. Meanwhile, the Bills' defense, led by stars like Von Miller and Matt Milano, is poised to stop the Chiefs' offensive juggernaut, using their own superhuman strength and strategy to thwart even the most dangerous plays. On offense, the incredible running back sensation James Cook is stepping into the spotlight, ready to prove he has speed and power to match the Chiefs' top-tier defense. Every snap is an opportunity for greatness, with both sides determined to make their mark.
Nice. So what makes this game even truly super powered, though, is the high stakes this game brings. Both teams are in pursuit of the Super Bowl, with one at the top of their division. This battle is for the top of the AFC. So the winner will gain not just bragging rights, but also the momentum needed for the grueling season ahead. With championship aspirations on the line, these two legendary quarterbacks leading the charge. This is more than just a game, folks. It's the battle of the century, where every pass, every tackle, every touchdown could be the game-winning punch that saves the day or knocks out the competition. So this is a super-powered game of the week the world is going to be watching. Now, Mason, let's get into the next segment, which is what?
It's going to be our heroes and villains, my personal favorite. So first up, we've got me with Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas Jr. against the Lions. All signs point to Thomas stepping in as the team's primary offensive weapon. With Kirk out for the season due to injury, the spotlight is now firmly on Thomas to carry the receiving load. His ability to make big plays, stretch the field, and rack up yards makes him the perfect candidate to shine in this critical matchup. With the Lions' defense known for being vulnerable against the pass, particularly their secondary, Thomas has the chance to unleash his skills and deliver a massive fantasy performance. Be ready for this to be an incredible game for Thomas.
Yeah, the Lions, they don't have a great pass defense. It's weaker on aspects than their overall defensive unit. So if there is a weakness in their defense, it's got to be their pass defense. So yeah, I mean, if this game could be tight. You know, Mac Jones is not the greatest quarterback, but if there is somebody that can get some separation, it's going to be Brian Thomas Jr. So that's a good call. So Mason, for me, my hero of the week, and we're gearing up for this one. He's had a streak of pretty good performance and his growing connection with Will Levis. I think that Calvin Ridley, he's on a mission to lead your fantasy team to victory. He's had 300 yards, 2 touchdowns in the past 3 games. So that's averaging over 100 yards a game since DeAndre Hopkins left. Over 20 fantasy points per game over the last 3, showcasing he's been very consistent. 5 catches, 84 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Chargers in Week 10. That's an impressive stat. So what makes Ridley a must-start is what, Mace?
It's not just his recent surge in production, but his role in the Titans' go-to weapon. As Tennessee's wide receiver 1, he's consistently being targeted in key situations. And despite tougher defenses ahead, he remains one of the most explosive players in the league.
Yeah. So that's why I got him as my hero of the week. Now, Mason, let's get into the villains. You know, the guys that we really don't want to have in our lineup. Sometimes, you know, you're forced to start them because you got no other choice, but we got to make our viewers a little bit more aware of some situations maybe that aren't so great for their fantasy team. So talk about your villain this week.
This week, I'm sounding the alarm. Tony Pollard is the villain of fantasy football. With high hopes for Pollard as a key part of many fantasy rosters, I'm here to warn you not to start him. Against the Vikings defense, which has been a brick wall against the run, Pollard is going to struggle in a big way. The Vikings have turned their defense into a fortress, suffocating any running back that dares to take them on. Pollard, once viewed as a fantasy star, will find himself buried behind the line of scrimmage more often than not, putting up disappointing numbers that will leave fantasy managers cursing their decision to start him.
The Vikings defense has nearly been unstoppable against the run this season. So yeah, you're pretty much right spot on there with Tony Pollard, in my opinion. Their defensive line is ferocious. Their linebackers, they like to swarm the ball with laser focus. So this game is going to be tough sledding for fantasy managers. So for Pollard, what is it?
It's a trap. With the Vikings' defensive powers against the run, he's not the player you want to have in your lineup. He may be a solid option in the other weeks, but not this one. As much as I wanted to believe Pollard could continue his solid fantasy production, this week he's going to disappoint in a major way. The Vikings' defense is simply too much to overcome, and I'm advising all fantasy managers to bench Pollard. Keep him away from all starting lineups. Trust me, he's a villain you don't want to face this week.
No. All right, well, I got another villain. Maybe they're like a tag team or something because they like to, they're playing the same position, and that's Najee Harris for me.
He was going to be my guy.
He's lurking in those shadows, but headed into week 11, he's more of a trap than a hero. So while Pittsburgh leads back, he's expected to play through his ankle injury, which adds a little bit more cloudiness to his outtake. So here's why I'm thinking of sitting him. Last week, 21 carries, 53 yards only. That's only 2.5 yards per carry, which isn't a good average. He hasn't had a target in 2 out of 3 games, so not great. The odds are definitely stacking against Najee Harris this week.
With his lack of involvement in the passing game, While Harris may still find a way to sneak in a touchdown here and there, his ceiling is significantly capped against the Baltimore's elite run defense, ranking first in the league against the run for yards. The Ravens will likely force the Steelers into a heavy pass game script, leaving Harris as a touchdown or bust option at best.
This tough defense the Baltimore has, I think it's going to be tough sledding for Najee Harris. So he could be the villain who leaves your fantasy team hanging. And so we've covered a couple villains, a couple heroes, so hopefully we've helped our viewership, our viewers, everybody on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network get some good plays in there. Now, Mason, let's get into our last segment here, which is what?
It's our segment of top 5. Ever since we added it, I felt a burst of excitement when we come to the end of this show. This week, we're doing top 5 running backs for Dynasty. Do you want to go first, Dad?
Sure, man. So let's do one for one. How about we do our number 5 first? So my number 5 is the running back for the Seattle Seahawks.
Which one?
Kenneth Walker, who's the second round pick from 3 years ago, who's coming on strong. He is their workhorse back, and I still think he's got a couple of years left in him. What about you? Who's your number 5?
Mine's Tyrone Tracy. This might surprise you, but I think he's got a future ahead of him. He's a rookie this year. He spent a little bit too much time in college, but I think Kenneth's the same age as him, maybe even younger. But I really like Tracy because he gets a lot of he's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get a lot of touches, and that's why I like Tyrone Tracy. Even with Singletary in, he's been that lead back.
Yeah. So my number 4 is Breece Hall, who's coming on all right in the last half year. But, a guy like Braylon Allen's come in and has taken some work from him, and that offense isn't clicking on all cylinders. So I'm going to have Breece Hall as my number 4. Who's your number 4, Mace?
I've got Jonathan Taylor, Colts running back, total workhorse, and gets mountains and mountains of touchdowns.
So my number 3 then would be Jahmyr Gibbs. I'd have him a little bit higher, but he still does split that backfield with David Montgomery. So he is gonna slide in to my number 3, although he's been very, very efficient. Who's your number 2? Who's your number 3?
My number 3 is Breece Hall. Still think he's a great back and stretch the field with one play and still have energy left. So he's a great back, and I love him for his explosive plays.
Okay. And then for me, my number 2 is very similar. I love his explosive plays. His efficiency is right up there with the best, and that's Devon Achane of the Miami Dolphins.
He's so small. I don't like that he could just get touched and then he'll absolutely explode like a Lego brick.
So who's your number 2 then?
My number 2 is Jahmyr Gibbs. He's a nice pass catching back, and yet Montgomery is still there, but I don't think Montgomery will be playing that kind of football for much longer. So that's why I have Gibbs there. He's pretty elusive too.
Cool. And then I think we both agree here that Bijan Robinson has been our number 1. So high five to that. We finally agree on something, kiddo. So that's the end of our show number 5 on the Fantasy Football Funhouse on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Mason, how's it going, buddy?
Good.
You had some fun today? Yeah. Our viewers are, coming on every week, so we really want to thank them for coming on and supporting the show and, continuing to tune in every week, every Saturday morning on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. So remember to tune in every Saturday. The show drops right around 8 Central every Saturday morning. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Mason, you got anything to say to anybody before we head out for the day?
Yeah, I recently just did a show on the sports affiliation. It's the Pros and Joes. I was on for week 11. So if you want to go check that out, you could see me. And as we say on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, we hope you win.
We hope you win, folks, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.